Even though all four inner planets are debilitated this month, it's still a pretty chill month. We have a lot of supportive energy, and compared to March and the months ahead, it's going to be pretty chill. We get two important planets stationing direct, which will give us some much needed forward movement. Welcome back to the Hella Fluid Collective podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I love connecting astrology and small business and using astrology to tap into the natural ebbs and flow that comes with owning a business. Today, we are talking about the astrology for the month of February of 2025. There are more supportive transits than harsh transits, which doesn't always mean good and it doesn't always mean bad when there's harsh. There's just more ease with February than there are in upcoming months. Both the Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Venus all are in or move into signs that they're not the most comfortable in, so there is a bit of awkwardness, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily tension. It's just figuring out how to place this energy. We'll get into that. But first, a quick announcement is that a new community that I am a part of launched last week, and that is the Intuitive Moon community hosted by Raquel Cohen over at Our Infinite Nature. Raquel is my beautiful friend and collaborator, and her and I have been working together for about a year now doing some work exchange. She is fantastic. She is a medium, a nature connector, a Reiki practitioner. She is an intuitive coach. Anything that really helps you connect to the spirits or guides or past lives or ancestors, she's there to be that person to help you connect. She is really gifted at what she does. I feel so much lighter in working with her, so much more connected to my guides and my ancestors. Our monthly sessions really light me up. So her opening up this community, both with me and our friend Tara, it's a beautiful space where you can tap into the energies and the cycles of each lunation. So she has a live event for the new moons and a ritual or a meditation for the full moons, and this community where we can all gather and talk together. And on top of that, there's lots of expansive opportunities where I have a class in there about your big three. There's someone coming in to teach about human design. There's some tarot classes. It's really wonderful. It's all the stuff that you want to be learning about. And of course, I am the resident astrologer, so every single lunation, every new and full moon, Raquel and I get together and we have a conversation about each moon. She taps in psychically and she delivers these awesome messages that are always on point with the astrology. So we come together and share our thoughts right before the call, and they're always aligned. It continues to blow our minds. She hosted the first live moon circle, and it was really beautiful. It was a powerful group of people who came together, and we all just held space for each other. We danced, we laughed, we supported one another, and then Raquel wrapped it up with some intuitive reads that she channels from your guides or your ancestors. It's magical, it's lovely, so the link is in the description below if you're interested in joining the monthly membership. All right, let's get into the astrology for February. On February 3rd, we get Venus moving into the sign of Aries, where it will stay until March 27th. Venus does not love Aries. This is where she is debilitated, which means she's weakened. She can't express herself fully because Aries acts as this filter that just kind of compresses her main elements and components. The planet is like the what, and the sign that it's in is the filter that what goes through. And with Venus in Aries, Venus loves to love. Venus loves to be harmonious. Venus loves to be a bit relaxed. And Aries is not so much of these things. It's a fire sign. It likes to go. It likes to do. It likes to be assertive. It likes to take action, be bold. And it also likes to stay kind of surface level and be really direct and just kind of get to the point and get going. Venus is a bit more deep than that. Venus is a bit more in our feelings, not like the moon, but it's really about sensory and being more present. Aries is moving. it's starting things. Putting these things together, it will bring a sense of impulsivity, directness, initiation, and self-centeredness into our relationships, our finances, the things that we value, our value systems, and the things that we find beautiful. And I say self-centeredness because I feel like the word selfishness has a negative connotation, which, everything is in moderation. Too much selfishness, yes, but sometimes we do need to center ourselves. So this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes we need to be more direct or more self-centered in relationships because maybe we're giving too much, or maybe we're not setting boundaries very clearly or at all. So that is a beneficial way that we can tap into Venus in Aries. Now, if you noticed, Venus is going to be in the sign for an extended amount of time. She's not usually in a sign for 2 months, but that is because we get Venus retrograde starting in the beginning of March. I'll speak more to that in the March forecast, but just notice what starts to come up for you now, because when it's retrograding, we might return to that energy, especially in regards to your relationships and your finances and your self-worth. Owners, this is not a time to make impulse buys. We might have the urge to do so, but I would really implement some sort of system like a purchase think tank, or leave it in the cart for a while, come back to it a week later to see if you really need it, because the urge is going to be strong and it's not really going to be a supportive energy that follows through with something super substantial if we act on those impulses. Maybe sometimes it might, but I would just try to hold out and wait and really analyze if you need it or not, get some extra advice. Just hold out on your impulses if you can. Aries is also very entrepreneurial, so you may be inspired of a bunch of new ways to make money. So that's kind of cool. Aries is super bold and courageous, so if you're going to be impulsive, maybe do it in ways that are more tapped into your entrepreneurship. Again, not necessarily investing a bunch of time and money if we're not sure if it's going to work out, so do it in a very non-committal way where it's more about trying it on. Then on February 4th, we have Jupiter stationing direct in Gemini. It's been in Gemini, so it's not changing signs, but it's been retrograding since the beginning of October. So we're going to get some forward motion, especially in regards to things in communication, in curiosity, in learning, in social activities, and sharing our ideas with one another. There's going to be some forward movement in expansion and growth through learning and through communicating with one another. Obviously, education generally points to growth, but this is just a super fueled version, especially with Jupiter there. It brings a more exciting, optimistic perspective on learning and growing. I will say Gemini energy can be pretty fast-paced. We already got a flavor of this last year I think it moved into Gemini in May. So from May to October, Jupiter was moving forward in Gemini and things were moving really fast in terms of education and learning. So on a personal level, Jupiter is pretty big. It's very optimistic. And Gemini is really excited to start new things, change it up. It's a mutable sign. So just watch out for starting too many things or taking on too many projects or being a little overly optimistic about what you can achieve with this energy, because things may shift in June when Jupiter moves into Cancer, which is a bit of a slower moving sign. Again, moving too fast or taking on too much isn't necessarily always a bad thing unless we have overcommitted ourselves in ways that we can't get out of, or in ways that we're spending a lot of time or money into. But if you want to just try some things that, let me just try making this product, you might come back to it. Let me just try making this new product. If you don't finish, that's okay. You could come back to it at another time. This energy isn't necessarily about completing things, it's more about moving around. As for business owners, this is a lovely energy for learning. Whether you are consuming the learning or producing the learning. So if you have wanted to start a YouTube channel, if you've wanted to launch a course or any type of educational content, this is the time to do it. Like I said, Jupiter moves into Cancer in June, which doesn't mean you can't do it then, but that's a good solid 5 months to get something out around learning and education. Even if it's something small, maybe a series on Instagram or TikTok. I don't know, just anything that can get your voice out there. If you've been hesitant to do so, this may be the invite for you to put it out there. Even if it's just a PDF, just do it. The world needs your information. It's also fabulous energy for networking because Gemini is all about communication and Jupiter loves to socialize. So going out, talking to people, you could really grow your perspectives. So if you don't already have some consistent networks, maybe you can join some groups, maybe you can set yourself up to go to a once a month meeting, whatever it may be. Now would be a really good time to figure out how you can stay connected in your business communities. Next up is February 9th, and we get a Sun conjunct Mercury, also known as a Mercury cazimi. Everybody loves a cazimi because it supercharges that planet. And especially when we get Mercury supercharged, we get a mental boost. We get clear communications. Who doesn't love that? It's like the pure opposite of a Mercury retrograde. They are meeting up in the sign of Aquarius, which is an air sign, and it's all about intellect. So this really doubles down on the mind and our intellectual thoughts. This year has been off to a bit of a rocky or foggy start, which makes sense because a year always starts off in winter. I feel that the new moon in Aquarius started to lift that fog just a little bit, give us some new opportunities. There was a lot of supportive energy from Jupiter. And I feel like this cazimi, this Mercury cazimi, is going to continue to peel back that fog just a little bit and give us some mental clarity as to what direction we can continue to move towards throughout this year. I will say watch for being a little too analytical with this connection. Aquarius can be very objective, which can help us look at a situation and assess it without so much bias, which is wonderful and necessary at times. But we are human beings with human emotions, and when we are too objective, we can really be detached. And yes, there's a healthy amount of detachment, but if we go too far, then we move into disassociation and not being present and not tapping into how we feel. And that's not always beneficial. Now, is it? Because if we don't tap into how we feel, it just gets bottled up in our body and it comes bursting out at different times. But this energy is very useful for figuring things out. As for business owners, this is a fabulous day for speaking, creating content, writing, or any other form of communication. Be a great day to plan batch creating videos or writing a bunch of blogs in once, anything where you can just kind of hunker down and focus. You'll have a bit more momentum to do so. This is also a supportive energy for figuring things out. Aquarius is very innovative. It thinks outside of the box. It's inventive. And so if you've had this problem that you've been putting on the back burner, now might be a good time to come back to it, or might just come up naturally to come back to it, and you might be able to figure out a solution. On that same day, February 9th, we get Mars retrograde making a trine to Saturn. Okay, Mars has been a little jerk since December 6th of 2024 because it's been retrograding, and it's been retrograding in a sign it doesn't like since January 6th, which is Cancer. It's very uncomfortable there. I've talked about this before, but Cancer likes to have us feeling our feelings, and Mars likes to go and do and take action, not sit with our feelings. But on this day, we get a little support from Mars. Thank goodness. Okay, we have already felt this energy, I think in November, I'm not sure, but before it went retrograde. We feel it once during the retrograde, and then we're going to feel it one more time as it goes out. So there's 3 touchdowns. So just know this energy is going to come back. So with Mars trine Saturn, Mars retrograde trine Saturn, it's going to have us reflecting on our actions and our motivations and how they align with our sense of responsibility, how we can be more disciplined with the ways that we take action, and if they're really aligned with our long-term goals. Sometimes, especially as a business owner, it's really easy to get stuck in the day-to-day actions, and there's not really a moment to reassess if your strategies are actually in line with what you want to do now. Maybe they were before, or maybe they're just trying to keep on top of things, which no shame, but now is a really supportive energy to actually think about, what do I really want, and what are the things that I need to do in order to get there, and how can I make some consistency in showing up to do those things? Do you need to hire out these smaller tasks so that you can have more time to focus on what you need to do? I know that sounds really scary because obviously money, but would it be worth a little bit of investment in order for you to get back to creating or spending more time doing content or talks or whatever it is that you love to do? Because you love to do what you love to do for a good reason. And it's important that if you've created this business to do that, that you create time to do that. Lordy knows there are so many business tasks just to running a business on its own. When that gets so overwhelming that you don't get to do the thing that you're passionate about, then it becomes a little bit of a problem. You can easily get stuck in a rut and nothing's moving forward. Things aren't growing because you're just doing the same business operations or admin tasks every day. So either streamline some things, automate some things, see if you can get a virtual assistant to take off some tasks, even if it's just for a month. Just try it for a month. You don't have to commit. Maybe it's just a little small trial, see what gets done, and see if any new opportunities come your way because you've created some more space. Now, both Mars and Saturn are in water signs, so there is bringing in this element of our intuition and our emotions. So maybe logically on paper it doesn't make sense to do some things, but you're being intuitively called to do it. Just go with that during this time. Just see what happens. Again, I always say this a lot. Just try in a non-committal way, just for a week, for a month, and see what opens up. If it doesn't work and your logical brain kicks back in, okay, fine, but give it a go. We're going to be feeling this transit for about 5 to 7 days on either side of exactitude, which is February 9th. So it definitely flavors a good chunk of February. It's all about getting our affairs in order before Mars goes direct and we can start, running a bit faster. And Mars goes direct at the end of the month. We'll get there. Next up is on February 12th, and that is a full moon in Leo. Full moons are all about illuminating things and releasing the things that no longer serve us. And Leo is all about creativity, self-worth, loyalty, playfulness, and leadership. It's going to illuminate our desire to want to stand in the spotlight, and it's also going to illuminate anything that may prevent us from actually taking that step. So Leo encourages you to express yourself authentically. So it's about understanding what makes you unique and bringing that to the forefront. With a full moon, it's full emotions. So if there's any emotions that prevent you from doing so, that might be illuminated right now, which might feel a little extra, but at the same time, bringing it to the forefront allows us some time to work through it. Now, this full moon is forming a square with Uranus. Okay, this isn't so lovely. Uranus is often disruptive. Even when it's a trine or a supportive transit, it kind of shakes things up a bit. When it's a square, it's going to be more annoying. Okay, it's going to be more debilitating. It's probably going to bring in a situation you weren't expecting, and it's going to be frustrating, it's going to be annoying, and you're not going to love that this thing came and, gave you a little excitement for the day. It's going to be like, oh my god, this is so freaking annoying. Now, because it's connecting with Leo, it might bring some sort of tension between your ego and your sense of freedom. So perhaps you aren't expressing yourself authentically because we're afraid of what other people might say, or we're afraid of other external things impacting us. And so that might be illuminated with this full moon. What are the things that are restricting you from fully expressing yourself authentically? The silver lining to the disruption that Uranus could bring is that it does put you in a new situation where you have to think differently in order to get yourself out of it or sort it out, which could then just have you thinking of new ideas, new frameworks to work with, which is, still gonna feel kind of yucky, but in the end can give you some more things to work with. New perspectives. As for business owners, I would use this energy to bring more of your personality into your brand. Maybe your brand is your name, but even if it's not, your business is still an extension of who you are as a business owner. So make sure that your brand and your business really represents who you are, what your values are. So if there's anything you've been afraid to express throughout your business, maybe just journal on that a little bit and see if you can let go a little bit and have your true self shine through your business just a little bit more. On Valentine's Day, February 14th, we have Mercury moving into the sign of Pisces. Yet another inner planet in its debilitated sign. So Mercury does not like being in Pisces. In traditional astrology, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the big picture, how everything connects. And Mercury is the opposite of that. It's all the little details, it's the spreadsheets, it's the checklists. So when it's in Pisces, it can kind of have this awkwardness of wanting all the little details, but Pisces is kind of up in the sky, going with the flow, in a dream world. So it can't express itself fully here. It's going to be here until March 3rd, so it's just a small stay. We don't get a Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Not true. Just kidding, we do. It starts off in Aries, but it retrogrades back in Pisces. Man, this has been a year of retrogrades of debilitated planets. But that's okay, we are making it through. Anyways, on the plus side, this does bring a sense of intuition, interconnectedness, spirituality, compassion, empathy into our communications with each other, ourselves, into our thought patterns, into the way that we're processing things, which sounds kind of lovely to me. Granted, I am a Pisces. I also have Mercury in Pisces, so all of this is very comfortable to me. I'm all right with the loosey-goosey. We may be thinking more about connecting with nature, whereas Aquarius is more about how humans connect with one another. Pisces takes it a step further, and it's about how we connect with everything. We connect with that tree outside. We connect with the grass in the ground. We connect with that little squirrel in the tree. All of the things. We connect with each other, right? We can all see a little bit of ourselves in each other. When one person is hurting in the world, we're all hurting in this world. That's very Piscean energy. Oftentimes, our logic and our mind can get in the way of feeling these things. I am someone who can feel these things, but I can't explain them. We need our mind, our Mercury, to understand and explain them. But there's just this feeling, this knowing, and that's more of that Pisces energy. I will admit that Mercury in Pisces may give a little bit of a mental fog, it may lack some clarity, okay? Because Pisces is in another realm and our mind is right here. It's trying to stay, I wouldn't say it's staying present because it bounces all over the place, but it's here in this realm anyways. It's the essence of a Mercury retrograde. Now, when it actually Mercury is in retrograde, my goodness, hold on tight. Don't want to scare you, but I'm just saying get your affairs in order now. And be prepared for some mental fogginess that will come in March. There's also some other big shifts. We get Neptune moving into the sign of Aries. It's going to be some shifts, okay? So use this month now to get some things in order. As for business owners, this can be channeled into some creative energy. It can take your mind and make it be a bit more creative. So if you want to carve out some more time to create some things, again, I think I mentioned this with another transit of just trying on some things, trying to, maybe there's that product or that piece of content that you've been wanting to create for a while. Just spend a little time on it, see what happens, see what you can channel down from your guides, your intuition that you can put into this. You may not finish it, okay? Pisces is mutable, we're changing, we're moving around. It's not as fast as Gemini, but it's still changing, it's mutable, it's adaptable. Okay, so just go into it with an open heart, not any expectations of finishing this much. Just free flow with it. Also, just double check your communications. It's easy for things to get miscommunicated. It's not as, technology is going to break down as Mercury retrograde, but it is, I'm a little bit confused by what you meant in this message. So take the extra minute or two just to reread that text. Check in to make sure that they got it. Set a reminder to follow up. Don't be afraid to follow up. Just go the extra mile. Then on February 18th, we have the Sun moving into Pisces as well. Happy birthday to my fellow Pisces. The Sun will be here until March 20th when it will move into Aries in its spring equinox. A lovely time of the year. So in astrology, spring equinox is the official start to the new year. It's the zodiacal new year. It's the astrology new year. So that leaves Pisces season as being this point of culmination. Kind of like coming up to the last degrees of a sign where it's a gathering of all of the things that have happened in that sign. It's the same thing for Pisces. We're looking back at all the lessons that we've learned in the past year. We're soaking them in, we're reflecting on them internally. This does happen at the end of winter, and especially February Pisces. We really don't have too much to look forward to because spring feels so far away. So it's okay if you're feeling a little down. It's okay if you're feeling a little depressed, a little sad. That's natural to come with Pisces. It's a bit more of a heavy energy, but that's because we are decompressing everything that we have been through, and we're kind of seeing how everything's connected so that we can process it and make space for the new. Learn those lessons, keep those with us, process what we don't need, let it go, and start fresh in the spring. Watch out for escapism or unhealthy disassociation during Pisces season, meaning doom scrolling, not paying attention to the things that matter, ignoring your emotions, ignoring how you feel because they're uncomfortable. Do what you can to start getting comfortable with your feelings because they're really powerful tools that can help us navigate towards what's right for us. As for business owners, I would use this energy to lean into the parts of your business that are more compassionate. If you're here, I know that you love to help people. You want to do your service in the world, and whatever that is for you is obviously going to look different for each person. But if you've lost touch with your purpose, that greater sense of why you're doing all of this, Pisces season is a really good time to reconnect with that. So be gentle with yourself. If you need a bit more rest, if you need a bit more self-care during Pisces season, maybe we've already, been a bit slower this year and we're ready to push. It's okay if not. It's really okay. It's winter. The trees are still bare. Okay, we haven't really grown into the new things yet. We're still processing. So just be kind to yourself. Then on February 23rd, we get Mars stationing direct. Hallelujah. Oh my goodness. This one really kicked my butt. I must say this has been the most challenging retrograde I can recall. Probably a few things going on in my personal life, but also Mars is my ruling planet in my chart. I really felt this one, and with it being debilitated in the sign of Cancer, it's been rough. So I'm very excited for it to station direct. Granted, it's going to be in shadow. I don't have the exact date. I'm sorry, I should have gotten that. Probably until about May or so. It's going to be over the same steps that it went through before it turned retrograde. There's still going to be a little bit of slowness but nothing compared to what we've been feeling since December 6th, and especially January 6th when it's been in Cancer. So something to look forward to. It doesn't mean bury your head in the sand until then and just hope that things get better then. It's still figuring out how to stay motivated and what you can do to motivate yourself when your energy is low. And that's hard. That's something I challenge with, so no shame. Just know it's an ongoing journey. But yes, come February 23rd, we are going to get some forward momentum in terms of our motivation, our desires, understanding what it is we want and how we want to go after them. Also, our physical energy, because Mars rules the body. So if you've just felt really lethargic, I have been sleeping so much, that may begin to lift a little bit, maybe. We'll say Mars is going to be in Cancer until the end of April, so there's still that little bit of awkward feeling. But again, this gives us some time to have some forward movement in connecting our actions and our motivations to our intuition and to connecting them to things that we actually want to nurture and not just taking action for action's sake. As for business owners, I would expect obviously some forward momentum during this time. So if you're not feeling it right now, don't make any definitive decisions right now, because it could be you could step into a whole new realm come the end of the month. Again, that doesn't mean just sit and wait for that time, but I am just saying don't feel defeated. And if you can tap into your intuition now to help you get closer to whatever it is that's coming your way, that is the way that we can figure out what's next, is really connecting to the universe, to God, to our intuition, your guides, whatever it is that you connect with. That's what's going to pull us through. Even if opportunities aren't coming your way, that's not what I'm saying is going to happen. We're going to have more motivation to figure it out. But only if you do the work now by connecting to the things that are going to bring you motivation during that time. It's not just magical. You got to tap into the astrology. We always have our free will. If you choose to ignore the astrology of the present and just wait for something else to happen, problems could arise, or maybe we're not prepared for that energy because we weren't being present before it happened. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. I'm just going to assume it does. Last up, we get a new moon in Pisces on February 27th. This is going to bring new beginnings in terms of our intuition, our spirituality, compassion, our creativity, and tapping into that interconnectedness. If you wanted to get more serious about creating a spiritual practice, whether it's maybe meditating for 5 minutes every day, or even getting into more of a routine of tapping into your guides on a regular basis, this would be a good energy to do so. It's also supportive energy for starting new creative projects, or maybe carving out more time consistently to work on your creative projects. Setting intentions around these things is going to be really supportive during this time. A reminder that Pisces is a mutable sign, so it's a great time to be adaptable. If there's some things that we need to change up a little bit, there's some energy to do that as well. It's also energy around being compassionate and empathetic towards ourselves and others. So if you want to set new intentions around being kinder to yourself, being kinder to others, this is the energy to do so. Now, there are a lot of planets in Pisces at the time of this new moon. This new moon happens at 9 degrees of Pisces, and the closest planet to it is in 20 degrees. We have Saturn, we have Mercury, we obviously have the Sun and the Moon. That's what makes a new moon. They're both at 9 degrees of Pisces. We have Saturn, we have Mercury, we have the North Node, and we have Neptune. So all of those happen in the later degrees of Pisces. So I would not consider them conjunct this new moon. However, while the moon is still in its new moon phase, it's going to go through and activate all of these planets. So they're very related. So all of these things, we have Saturn bringing stability and a sense of responsibility. So that's very supportive in your intentions because it's going to bring some longevity to it and the discipline to follow through if you tap into it. With Mercury, it's going to bring our mind and our intellect into these intentions. The North Node is going to bring some sense of purpose to it, a sense of greater purpose. And then Neptune could bring in a little confusion, or it can bring more intuition into it as well too. So there's lots of energy going into your new moon intentions that you're setting with this Pisces new moon. That's it for this month. Now, if you want to learn about every single transit that's happening this month, there's a couple places you can go. If you want to head to my blog, which is linked in the description below, I have a list of supportive days, spicy days, and dynamic days, which can help you plan out the month. Let's say you have a meeting you want to plan or an event or something like that. You can kind of look at those days to maybe avoid the spicy days and plan it on a more supportive day. They're listed in the description, just the dates and the transit, but if you want to learn a little bit more about what those actually mean, you can head over to the blog. If you want more live action information, then head over to my Instagram or my TikTok, where on Sundays I post graphics for every single day and I list the transits and like 3 or 4 bullet points of how you can tap into that energy, both as a regular person and a business owner. So very supportive, very helpful, very present. And then I post those daily graphics to my story just in case you missed them. Lots of information for you to tap into the astrology. If you also want it on a weekly basis, come back here, subscribe, hit the notification button, and every single week I do a little 10 to 15 minute episode where I talk about every single transit for that week and bring it all together so you can figure out how to use the energy best. All right, I hope you have a beautiful February. If it's still slow for you, soak it up, okay? March is going to be a bit wild, so really revel in the peace that February has to offer. If it does. I'm not a psychic, and we all have free will. Astrology is just a forecast. None of us really know what's going to happen. All we can do is stay present and deal with it in the best way that we can with the resources that we have right in front of us. Anyways, I hope you have a beautiful month. And until next time, stay hella fluid, y'all.